And so, it continues. Hello there, welcome back to the Writing Advice Q&A. I'm your host, Kirin. Today, I have an interesting question, and one that I believe a bunch of my writerly friends are currently dealing with. And I think it's a great chance for us to talk about it. But before I go on anywhere, allow me to remind you, give you the formal disclaimer as always that the following is merely just my advice, my opinion, and what works for me. Don't take it as gospel, instead take it as the ramblings of a silly person who looks a little bit like this. Today's question is actually a pretty long one. I want you to just tag along, okay? There's a lot to talk about. Let's take it from the top, okay? Okay. Hey Max, I always have new ideas for stories and I love to work on them. I love to create stories and share them with other people. The thing is, no matter how many times friends and readers tell me that they like the stories I write, no matter how many times they tell me they love my originality and my writing style, I feel as if I'm never enough. I know it's natural to doubt yourself when writing, to criticize your own work for the smallest details that most people will never even notice, to change everything 100 times yet still feel as if something could have been better. And I know that I'll keep getting better, that someday I'll be able to write the stories I want the way I want them to be. But sometimes these feelings get the best of me and I want to stop writing entirely. So my question is, how to stop these endless cycle of self-criticism and self-consciousness? I had to stop because I wanted to give this question I wanted to do things right by it, and I wanted to not just give it the answer that I usually give, which is just keep writing. Because that's ultimately the solution, but I wanted to find an anchor for me to help this person, because I totally understand that feeling as though you're never good enough, feeling as though what you're writing is not good enough, and feeling as though you're never gonna get anywhere. And that's a really easy mindset to fall onto, especially when you're in the middle of writing things, when it feels as though the mountain of work is it's literally a mountain, unbreakable, unshatterable, and it's gonna be years before you complete it. Really easy to fall into that, I know from personal experience. And I was reading through the question over and over again, and there's a passage in the question that I held on to, and that line is, and I know that I'll keep getting better, that someday I'll be able to write the stories I want the way I want them to be. And that, especially right now, as I myself am writing for National Novel Writing Month, that right there stuck with me, because I have to be honest with you right now. I don't write the stories I want the way I want them to be. I revise them the way I want them to be. Writing for me, and when it was way harder, dealt with me wresting control from the elements of the story, the characters, the events. And writing became a lot less hard. You could even say it became easier when I stopped worrying about this battle for control. What I wanted versus what the story wanted to do. Versus what the characters wanted to do. And once I let go of control, and I acknowledged deep down that no matter what, I will always have the chance to revise the story and to make it the best it can possibly be. Writing first drafts used to be a pain. It used to be this self-conscious mess of worrying about every other line, and I know that feeling because it's not there. I've gotten over it, but I can feel, you could even say, the footprint in the sand where it used to be. That feeling of that person you have a crush on, that person you like, reading this and realizing that you're not good. That feeling, that invasive thought used to destroy me, used to kill me in the middle of writing, and I would just sit there frozen, my anxiety making me imagine more and more things going wrong. How one single line would ruin my relationship with this person. It's all nonsense. It's all silliness. Even right now, I can tell you, right at this very moment, I'm writing a story, and I'm writing it, and I'm catching moments where I'm going, I'm not happy with that line, but I'll fix it later. Or, that character said something a little odd. I'm gonna make a note of it, because it might be important to the story, but I'll keep going. And if it's not, I'll take it out during the revision. I know it's really hard to just hear, fix it later. Especially because if you're like a very, how can I say this? A very clean, neat person like I am, where like I'm always fixing things before they become a problem, this sort of mentality is the complete opposite. And I know that it can be really hard to listen to, but trust me when I tell you this. It's okay. Revise them later. If you are releasing a story on a week-to-week basis, I recommend you to stop and just write the whole thing. Give yourself the space to create it the way that you want it to be. You have time. I was writing, and the main character, who I thought was going to be one way, turned out to be completely different. Completely different. And instead of being dark and sulky like most of my characters, being bitter, you know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. The bitter characters. Instead of being bitter, she's kind of happy-go-lucky, and she is making jokes that I don't particularly find funny, but she's making them. What am I gonna do? And as I'm writing them, and not laughing because I don't think they're funny, but smiling because it's funny that that's the way the story turned out to be. I saw myself writing them, and almost even, you could say, shaking my head going, I may have to cut these out later, but who cares? That's for Max in the future to deal with. Max in the present right now, their job is to get this story written. So, I understand, it's really easy. It's so easy to fall down the downward spiral of feeling bad about your writing, and writing things that you're not particularly happy about, and once again become self-conscious, and think of what the people are telling you, that they love what you're doing, and this is like walking the line with this imposter syndrome, where you hate what you make, but people like it, so you think that the person they like is not you. I can do a whole video on the imposter syndrome, but let's not go there. What I want you to acknowledge, internalize, say it out loud, in front of the mirror. You have the time and the space. The first draft doesn't have to be perfect. You're never gonna write the story you want. You're gonna revise the story you want. Because it is in revision that the story finally takes form, and the bad things go away and the good things arrive. I almost wish I could have a little camera, or could have you on my shoulder when I'm revising a story, and I've had the time to disconnect myself, and I no longer care about the time I spend, and I no longer care about the particular lines that I just sat there for hours trying to get right, and I revise them. And I just say, you know, this whole paragraph? Man, that's ineffective! Cut it out! You know, this particular line? It sure sounds cool, but what the hell am I saying? I don't even know! Revise it. Make sure that it flows correctly. And then you find the little gems. The little lines that you from the past nailed. And you sit there going, man, that version of Max really knew what they were thinking at that moment. Not the following line, but hey, you know what? That's Max for the present to worry about. And as one final thing, because I'm going way too long on this one, I have to tell you, relate to you two quotes. One that I've been saying for years, and one that a writerly friend said recently. Writers don't finish novels. They let go of novels. You can be revising that story forever, but you have to stop at one point and ask yourself, okay, when is this story complete? When am I happy with it? It's never gonna be perfect. It's never gonna be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. Don't trick yourself into thinking that could happen. You're not the exception. Everyone is subject to this. Let go of the story. Let go of the story. Move on. Write something else. Okay? Additionally, a dear writerly friend of mine, Smiley, said something recently, and I believe it was a quote from their professor, I think. And sometimes when it feels like going in circles, you're not. You're actually moving up an upward spiral, and I like that. I really like that. Dear writerly friend, you think you may be going in circles, but you're probably not. You're writing, you're getting stuff done, you're revising your stories. Keep moving forward, okay? It's rough right now, and it'll be rough in the future, yes. But in the future, you'll have the time to turn this story into what you really want it to be. Okay? Okay. I hope that helps. And with that said, I would love to turn the mic to you. What do you feel about this particular situation? What is your particular piece of advice for this person? What have you done in the past? I would love to hear what you have to say, as well as your questions for future videos. But for the time being, I hope it helps. I really do hope it helps. But now, new outro. Okay, if you want to support me and want to make sure that I can continue on making videos, check out my Patreon and the link in the description down below if you want to buy me a cup of coffee. I'm drinking tea, but coffee is still okay. I also have a link to a couple of my videos and a playlist. If you're watching from the future, there's over 100 videos of writing advice there waiting for you. And the subscribe button if you haven't already. Subscribe so you never miss any of my videos. But for the time being, I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me. And I'll see you on the next one.